Good morning, church. I have the privilege to bring the devotional this morning, and we are going to be looking at several passages from the Gospels as Jesus calls the disciples. As we look at these passages, I want to help us see that there was a process in which Jesus called individuals into that life-giving discipleship relationship with Him. I think we can learn from that as we are called to be disciples among people and among our neighbors and our community, and look at how Jesus called those first 12 disciples and many disciples, but then went to 12 and the apostles, and how we can learn from that in our way of making disciples, not only personally, but at First Methodist Waco. First, I want to look at John chapter 1, verse 35 through 39, and hear these words from the gospel writer. The next day, John was there again with two of his disciples. When he saw Jesus passing by, he said, "Look, the Lamb of God." When the two disciples heard him say this, they followed Jesus. Turning around, Jesus saw them following and asked, "What do you want?" They said, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" "Come," he replied, "and you will see." In the way that Jesus begins his ministry and his discipleship ministry, he looks at individuals and he calls them to come and to see. That's the first stage. As you saw here, this is probably Andrew and most likely John, who were disciples of John the Baptizer, and they had witnessed what John was doing in the wilderness, and then Jesus came along, and then Andrew and John were drawn toward Jesus, and they asked him these questions, and Jesus said, "Come and see." Over and over through the Gospels, Jesus will preach and talk to people, and he says at the very beginning, "Come and see, come and watch, come and witness what I am doing amongst you." That is clear, maybe clear for us as the first step as we begin that discipleship journey, is that someone told us to come and see. I can remember being a college student, and a friend of mine was talking about Jesus. I'd grown up in the church. I had been baptized. I had been confirmed in the Methodist Church. I knew a lot about Jesus, but I didn't know Jesus. And a friend in college began talking to me about their relationship with Jesus, and then eventually came to this invitation: come with us and see. Come with us and see Jesus. Come and see and witness what he's doing in our lives. That began an incredible journey of faith that started there at the college campus. When we introduce people or meet people and they don't know Jesus, or they're interested in learning about Jesus, what we need to do is exactly what Jesus did. Say, "Come and see. Come and see this person that I'm talking about. Come and see this person I have a relationship with. Come and hear about Jesus, the Messiah. Come and see." The same words that Jesus used when the disciples asked him. Come and see. That's the first kind of stage and step in this discipleship journey. We need to invite individuals to come and see. The disciples were not just suddenly disciples on the first day. They came and they watched and they looked around, and then they witnessed what Jesus was doing because they heard him say, "Come and see." The second stage we can find in Mark. In Mark's Gospel, chapter 1, verses 16 through 17, and Mark is writing here, and he starts this way: "As Jesus walked beside the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and his brother Andrew casting a net into the lake, for they were fishermen. 'Come, follow me,' Jesus said, 'and I will send you out to fish for people.'" Now, the first stage was come and see, come and witness, come and look and watch what's happening. Jesus had said to some of the early disciples to come and see. And he probably said that to many, many people. It was probably not just this 12, but at the very beginning, there were, as he preached and traveled, there were crowds that would come, and he would probably say, come and see. But then he got to the second stage where he talked to these individuals and said, now, instead of just coming and seeing, come and follow me. Now, coming and seeing is kind of a way to come and to step back and to not be intimately involved. To kind of be on the peripheral, to kind of listen, to kind of watch, to kind of just kind of step back and be outside that sphere. To come and follow means to be a little bit closer, a little bit more intimate, to be a little bit more involved in what is going on. It's not so much of a spectator, it's much more of a participant kind of way. These individuals would come and they would follow him, and they would follow Jesus as he went around Galilee. And so they were spending an enormous amount of time together. It was not just this, okay, I go to church on Sunday or synagogue one hour, or I do this 1 hour. It was, they were together constantly. They were traveling together. The more common modern kind of understanding is life on life. They were sharing life together. In this kind of stage of come and follow me means that they're going to be intimately involved with Jesus. They're going to see things not from a perspective far away, but close up. They're going to watch in a more kind of close manner as they followed him around Galilee and saw the miracles and the healing and all the things that he did. It was not as if they were standing back and watching. It was that they were actually going with him and participating along with him as they followed him. There's also this kind of understanding of just being there with him, this constant being there with him as they followed him. Maybe that has happened to you. Someone said, come and see about this Jesus. Then you made that decision and began that relationship with Jesus and started to follow him. You began to look and see more in more deeper ways what Jesus was doing and how Jesus was working, and reading the scriptures in a more deeper kind of way, developing spiritual disciplines in a way that would change your life. As we move through this discipleship process, the end goal is to become more like Jesus, is to become Christ-like. So as we get to this stage of following me, and following Jesus, that is beginning, his kind of way of life is beginning to rub off on us. His way of looking at individuals and of communicating with individuals and as interacting with individuals are beginning to rub off on us and into our lives. That first stage was to come and see, to come and witness, to come and watch, to come and listen, a much more peripheral kind of view, not to be intimately involved, but to just kind of investigate. We would call that more of a seeker, kind of, oh, well, I'm just here to look and to watch and to kind of evaluate and look at it, look at what's going on. The second stage is to follow me, as he said in Mark, and called the disciples to follow me. That means a little bit more intimate. That is not being on the peripheral. That is actually walking with Jesus and watching what Jesus does and seeing what Jesus does. And so those attributes and characteristics of Jesus begin to rub off on us as we become more compassionate, more loving, more graceful, more merciful. That is what follow me means. And then there's the third stage. The third stage, which in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 6, verse 12 through 13, the writer of Luke writes, "One of those days Jesus went out to a mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. And when morning came, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them, whom he also designated apostles." Now, as we look at this, Jesus had gone to the mountain to pray. Very, very important decision. He was communing with the Father, asking the Father, praying to God the Father, probably in regards to this decision and who to choose as the apostles. And it says, in the morning when he went down, he called his disciples to him and chose 12 of them. So there were probably quite a few more disciples still there, but he chose 12. He chose those 12. These were one among many to move to a leadership role. They were one among many to move to a leadership role. So we had seen from the beginning, come and see, come and watch, come and be on the peripheral, come and investigate. Then he kind of called people to say, come follow me. Come be involved in an intimate kind of way. Come hear what I'm saying, see what I'm doing. Let what I'm doing and who I am rub off on you, and be more compassionate and loving and caring and all those things. But then the third stage was that he called from that group of disciples, 12 who would go into a leadership role. And this was come and be with me. Come and be with me. That they would be with him even in a more intimate way than come and follow me. He would model to them things. He would do things around them. And then he would turn to them and say, you too can do these things. You too can go forth and do these things in other places. As Jesus did this, he was multiplying his ministry into the world because he knew he couldn't do it alone. And so as he moved those individuals from a come and see, follow me, come and be with me kind of stage, he was giving them more responsibility, more ability to be his disciples in his world. That is the same for us today, my friends. There are people that we meet and we say, come and see, come and hear, come and meet this person of Jesus. Then there are some who are called to follow me. They actually have that calling of personally knowing Jesus and walking with him and following him and becoming more like Christ, Christ-like, as us Wesleyans call it, sanctification, becoming more like Christ. And we continue to walk with him. And then Jesus calls us to be and come and be with him. Come and be with him. That we not only would continue to walk with Jesus, but that we would multiply our lives by telling other people about Jesus, by walking with them as they become Christ-like. As they walk and learn more about Christ, we can help guide them and mold them in the power of the Holy Spirit to be Christ-like as well. That is called multiplying discipleship. That is the way that Jesus called the disciples to be involved in his multiplying ministry to the world. And that is how he is calling us today to be a part of that incredible movement of multiplying disciples, going forth into the world to proclaim his gospel, but also to disciple others so they too can become Christ-like, so they too can develop those attributes in their lives of compassion and mercy and love. Not just to develop that in their life, but so also they can develop that and be a part of developing that in others as they meet others who do not know the risen Lord. It's my prayer that as you continue to walk with Jesus, you would be a part of a multiplying discipleship ministry, that you would tell people to come and see, that you would tell people to follow Jesus, come and follow Jesus with me. And then you would also say, come and be with me as I follow Jesus in a more intimate, in a more Christ-like, in a more significant way, so that we can both, and those in the group, all can become more like Christ in our lives and where we live. Again, multiplying discipleship, where Jesus said, come and see, follow me, and come and be with me. I hope this was encouraging for you this day, and I hope as you start this week, that this week would be encouraging to you, because God is with us and walking with us each step of the way. God bless.